is not my computer.
So as I mentioned, I'm super bummed that I'm actually not there. I feel like I want to be one of Kirsten's downline coaches or Katie's downline coaches so I can be with you guys, because it must feel so good to just be around other human beings and just in the presence of like just good people and kindness and genuinely a tribe of people who are rooting for you to win. So awesome to see you guys. Kirsten, I'm so proud of you. Just to give you a little bit of background about Beachbody and how I got started, I have been a coach for 9 years. 9 years. I just celebrated 9 years this past May. Very much an accidental entrepreneur. I started off as a middle school classroom teacher. I loved my job, but to be honest with you, my husband and I, we were living like paycheck to paycheck. And there always seemed to be just this budget all the time, like over our heads, that was causing us a lot of stress. And I remember my upline would be posting about these workout programs that she was doing, and I wasn't really sure how it connected to a job. I wasn't really sure what it was, but I was never going to ask her what it was. So instead of asking her, I purchased Insanity on my own, and it was off of Craigslist, which I don't even know if it's still a thing, but bought this burned DVD copy of Insanity, started my journey on my own. And I remember at that time, you could actually like get a free t-shirt. And I was like, game on, free t-shirt. I'm so excited, to get a free tee. And so while all of this is happening and I'm on my own journey with Insanity, hardest program that legit I think I've done ever. And I bought it because I thought it looked easier than P90X, which is not at all. So I'm doing Insanity on my own. And the whole time I'm watching this girl on Facebook talk about Insanity, P90X, and her job. And for me personally, two things really happened that like started me with the coaching journey. The first was I was in a grocery store and my son at the time was 2. And I remember thinking it was a Thursday, and I know that because I was only paid once a month on Fridays as a teacher. And I remember thinking, like, going through, what do we have left in the bank account? Do I have enough for milk and diapers, or do I have to put it on our credit card? And I was like, I think I'm good. I think I'm fine. So I went to the register, and he rang me up for milk, diapers, and I think I got one other thing. And he said the words insufficient funds. And that was my aha moment, because I walked out of there after paying with my credit card instead, and remember saying, there has got to be more to life than getting by. Like, there has got to be more to life than getting by. And it just so happened that Melanie, who is my upline coach, had done this post, and it was like a get together, very much like you are at right now. And they were all in a car. And I was at home, and I was grading papers, and I had my red pen in my hand. I had a stack of about 120, 130 papers to grade that weekend. And there was this picture on Facebook. They were all huddled in a car. And they were all blonde and beautiful. So I was like, I don't know, I guess I don't belong here. And they were in this car, they were packed up, and they were talking about, number one, healthy snacks. To this day, I actually believe if you go on a road trip, combos are required. So I'm very proud of the fact that I've changed that in their little posse. But they had healthy snacks, and they were going across the state to Philadelphia for this super event where they would be doing live workouts and learning more about this big event that was taking place. And I was like, my first initial thought of that post was, that is so weird. That was my first thought. And the second thought I had was, that must be nice. As I was sitting there with my red pen in my hand, grading papers, ready for a weekend of doing nothing but looking out my window and red penning the heck out of all of these 7th grade papers. And then my second thought, which was, it must be nice. My third thought was, it really actually must be nice. And that really evoked my curiosity to what coaching was all about. And I would love to sit here and tell you my shot up to through the ranks and through Beachbody and building it into a 7-figure income, which all of you are very capable of doing, was a straight shot. But it really wasn't. It was like a roller coaster. It had its highs and it had lows. And I always went through that process. You think, am I doing something wrong, right? Should I be further along than I actually am? And what I've learned is I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. So before I really start this presentation, I'm going to be talking about social media, storytelling, and it is going to be a little bit practical. I'm going to give you tips, and if you have a pen, you might be taking some notes. But the first thing that I really want to lean into is, number one, you are actually exactly where you are supposed to be. For whatever reason, you are in this room in the presence of some incredible women, all of you really empowering each other, leaning into one another, giving each other ideas, feedback, really growing together. And the second thing that I really want you to know, and I hope you take away from this, is your story is everything, and it really does matter. So your story, it doesn't just matter to you. It's not just about your story. It's the impact your story can make on other people. And as you're getting ready to take the notes, and as I get ready to sort of prepare this, I just want to take a step back to how I started. Girl with no marketing background whatsoever. I was a middle school reading teacher with no understanding of direct sales. Anyone else here like legit have no idea what direct sales was when they started? Did you guys? Yeah, I didn't even know the word. I didn't know network marketing. I didn't know MLM. I didn't know direct sales. I had to Google it. I had no background, and I certainly had no understanding of how to use social media for selling. I didn't understand how any of that worked. It wasn't that I came in with any knowledge or expertise in the industry. I came in really with an understanding that I liked the products, and also on the hope. I was riding like the hope that what she was saying about the coaching opportunity and income was actually truth. And so when I look back at her story that she was doing on social media, that post of her and 4 girls in the car, and they were on their way across the turnpike to Philadelphia, I bet you in that moment, she didn't know that the girl who was reading that post would eventually become one of her top in her own downline. I bet you she had no idea that the person on the other side of the screen would eventually turn around that business that she was struggling with at that time. I bet you she had no idea how much her story was actually giving me hope. And with that being said, I want you to realize that the social media content that you are putting out there, whether it's the post of all you guys doing the burpees and the challenges and the reels together on the beach this morning, or getting your butt kicked by Kirsten, which I'm kind of glad I wasn't there for that, because she actually kicks ass every time I am with her. So when I think about that, there is somebody on the other side of your post watching that who is looking for a solution. They are the girl who swipes the debit card and wonders, I swear, like, is there enough in my bank account? There is somebody who is holding a red pen, grading a stack of papers, going, is there more to life than getting by? Because Katy's telling me there is, or Kirsten's telling me it is, or Amber, or Val, or Kenna, or Chelsea, or whoever. They are telling me that there is a solution to a problem I have, which means that when we are creating content, it isn't about us. It isn't. It might be our story, but it really isn't about us. It's about the person who is on the other side of the screen. So whether that is a post that we do, a reel that we do, it could be that we create a story set. It is not about us. And I find that to be the hardest thing that people understand, because if you really believed that you have a solution and could change the trajectory of somebody else's life, and you really believe that 100%, you would realize it's incredibly selfish not to share. You would start to go, wow, I'm actually a jerk if I don't share this opportunity. And we have to be very aware that no matter how many coaches there are in the industry, it's our unique way of sharing what we have that allows us to become a standout factor in the industry. And that's what we're going to talk about today. All right. So first of all, before we kind of dive into this, I really want to kind of help you re-examine your belief system about selling. So I remember when I started, I was so afraid of selling. And funny story about Kirsten and I don't know if she's given you any background, but we went to high school together and we were mortal enemies, if you will.
Oh my gosh. No, I never said that.
Okay. So let me sort of back in once upon a time, back in 2000, right before, I don't know, we were in like 11th or 12th grade, we shared a best friend. And Carla and I grew up together, and Kirsten was her, friend, like best friend, right? So we both kind of had this like love for Carla, and Carla could not understand why we didn't get along. And probably because Kirsten and I are a lot alike. And so back in the day, when I started coaching, I remember Kirsten messaged me. And I turned to my husband and said, I think she's making fun of me, but I don't know. And my husband was like, well, message her back. Right. So, and I did. And the rest is kind of history, so to speak. But I would never have had the courage to actually really formally invite Kirsten because I would be so afraid that she would say no. And so, as you know, Kirsten's become one of the top in my organization as well. And so I'm grateful every day that Kirsten had that courage to say, so what's Insanity or P90X? I don't remember which one I was doing, but she was kind of doing it on her own too. And so we have to re-examine our belief system we have about selling and the lies that we might be telling ourselves. So maybe that lie is, I am not a salesperson. Or maybe that lie is, selling feels icky to me. How many of you have told the story of like, I actually feel kind of guilty that I'm making money off of people? Or how about I actually feel guilty asking people to spend money? Hold up for a second on that one. Do you realize that what you sell for $99 Beachbody On Demand has like a catalog of literally hundreds of workouts for people? I don't know how anyone can even like gawk at that price. It's incredible. Beside the point, but how many people have ever said, I feel guilty making money off of my friends, or I don't want to annoy people? In my case, it was like, what if people judge me? What if people think I'm greedy because I believe I am capable of earning more? When we hold that sort of belief before we put information out, that energy is manifested into the words that you are putting out there. So you could create the best post, you could put the great content out there, but if your energy isn't in that post, it is felt. Yes, through the computer, through your social media, it is felt. When you think about the fire you feel for what you have to show people, people feel that, they sense that, they see that. And so when we think about energy, we have to really ask ourselves, what is the lie that I am putting up in front of me that actually I need to rip to shreds and just walk away from? And then you just go back to the story of, I am a jerk if I do not share this. I am a jerk if I do not share this. This story isn't about me. It is about somebody else. That narrative, when you really believe that narrative is changing everything, your energy shifts. So if we don't believe that we are the girl for the job, we're not the girl for the job. So whatever it is that the that affirmation you have to say about being the girl for the job, we need to say it over and over and over again until we believe it. And I know that Kirsten is really big on affirmation statements and really manifesting that life that you want. And so just a quick tip about whatever lies that you are holding, turn them into truths until you believe them. So if you are saying to yourself, I am not a salesperson, I am not a salesperson, how can you make that statement a truth? If you are saying to yourself, selling feels weird to me, how can you make it a truth that works in your favor? How can you make it a positive? Selling to me is new and exciting, and I love figuring it out as I go. Sounds a lot more energetic and passionate than selling feels weird to me. So, how can you take those lies and turn them into truths about who you are? Okay. So, we're going to work on those things. And I would even challenge you to really work with your team today and think about those lies. Have conversations with each other and walk through examples of lies you can turn into your truth statements. All right.
We're actually doing that tomorrow, Katy. So
I'm so happy. And we didn't even talk about that. So that's perfect.
So this is perfect. So jot those lies down because we're going to work on that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Sure.
And you know, just kind of on that statement, this is sort of a personal thing like that I have gone through. I remember going through a season where I was really addicted to sugar. I was really having a hard time. This is while I was still Beachbody, or I'm still Beachbody. Like it's when I was really like scaling in Beachbody, and I was struggling with my own diet, like my own habits. And here's what I realized: I would go to the pantry at night after being on 9 o'clock calls, like in the evening. And I would go to the pantry at night and I would go, I did it. I set my invites and then I listened to a call and I took notes and I applied one of the skills. And in the pantry, I would go and I would eat. And I realized that was a habit that I had that I didn't even notice. I was associating it with reward. And it came back to when I was a child, I was always rewarded with food. If I at school, I was rewarded with cupcakes. If I don't know, if we had a party, or like it always felt like food was a reward. And so I was carrying something from my childhood into my adulthood. And then I couldn't break the habit because I thought that felt like I was punishing myself. So I wrote this manifestation statement and affirmation, but I had to make it feel like something that I could do at that moment. I couldn't say like, I am 110 pounds and I have 6-pack abs. Sure, I want to manifest that. But the idea, the gap between where I was and where I wanted to go was so big. It was actually causing more like struggle than it was actually empowering me. So my affirmation statement then, and to this day, that I still use and has changed my life is, I am confident and in control of my food choices. That's it. And so that shift, that way of saying it made me go, this makes me feel good. Like this is my truth. And I stand in that truth. So no matter what your truth is, it can be what you are working towards. We just want to make sure that it's a positive statement. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about, all right, Katy, I get it. I need to post on social media. I need to inspire people. Like, how do I do it? Right? How do I grow my following? How do I get more followers on Instagram? How do I get people to, just line up and come to me? Like that scene in Ace Ventura, where Ace Ventura is like standing in front of all the animals and he kind of like puts his hands out and all the like birds and everything are like, come to me, flock to me. It doesn't work like that. So I'm really sorry. Like you could create a viral post and people aren't going to buy into what you do if you don't keep giving them what they want. So a while back, I was thinking about, how we get people to stick. And I had created this viral post that did really, really well. It was featured on like the Today Show, but the post was of a bunch of people's butts. I don't even remember who was in it. It was a Beachbody trip. And it was just like, it was about like the seat at the table. I forget what my tagline was, but it was something about that. And it did phenomenal. And then I said, okay, if I want to turn these people into actual followers, I need to give them more of what they came for. So this is the analogy I'm going to give you, and I hope that it sticks. And I want you to think, while I'm talking through this, I want you to think, aside from Beachbody, I don't want to talk about Beachbody right now. I want to talk about you. Why people follow you. What the reason is that people have to follow you. So I'm just going to give you this story, and I want you to think about what yours would be. There used to be a bakery by my mom's house, phenomenal bakery. And I would go to her house, and on my way to her house, I would stop at Kribel's, and they had the best thumbprint cookies ever, right? Best thumbprint cookies ever. And so I would go in there and I would get like a dozen thumbprints, and then I would eat a thumbprint and I would be like, oh, this is so good. I love it so much. No bakery comes close to that. But the only reason I ever went to that bakery, no matter what else they sold, was the thumbprint. And so on one occasion, I went in and I was going to get my thumbprints. I was in the best mood. I was like, Mom, can't wait to see your thumbprints. Can't wait to eat you. Went into the bakery and they were like, oh, sorry. We actually no longer sell those cookies. And I was like, what? So what? What? Like shocked, right? Because I was mad because I love these cookies. I only go to that bakery for those cookies. And then I was like in there, right? So I grabbed, I think, a couple bear claws or muffins or whatever. And I never went back. And then the bakery, of course, closed and it's no longer open. But my point is this: you have a thumbprint. You have a thumbprint where people go to your social to see that thumbprint. And sure, they might grab a bear claw. They might also enjoy a muffin as well. But unless you are serving them the thumbprint, they ain't coming back for your content. So if you think about what you do well, you need to do it over and over and over again. So if you sound like a broken record, you are actually doing it right. One of the thumbprints that I talk about on my social is cancer. Guys, I had cancer 6 years ago. It is still a big part of my life. There are still people today who are impacted by cancer. There are still people today who don't know my story. There are still people today that do not know parts of my story. So I still talk about cancer because a big part of my audience, that's their thumbprint. It was my cancer, but the story ain't about me anymore. The story is about how I can make an impact for more people because of that story. So you might be asking yourself, okay, well, you had cancer, Katy, you know, like, well, that's a really good thumbprint. I don't know what is dinging. Hold up. I got to find what is dinging. So you do. You have a thumbprint that somebody needs. You have a thumbprint that somebody is waiting for, that somebody cannot wait to see. And your job is to figure out what that thumbprint is to give it over and over and over again. So your thumbprint is a primary reason why people follow you. And then you have some subtopics. Those subtopics are going to be what you preach, what you teach, and what you sell. So think about your primary like thumbprint, whatever it might be. And this should be something you really feel passionate about talking about. This should be something, I almost define it as, for me, when I think about cancer, I have gotten myself so angry about it or so passionate about it. I've actually like pulled over my car in the road because I knew that I was so emotional about the topic. So when you think about that, that might not be related directly to what you sell. Does that make sense? So for Amber, it might be a previver. She's a previver. For Kirsten, it might be like really how her faith has impacted her marriage. For Katy, it might be just being a single mom and then combining her family. It could be like, and I don't know what yours is, but I do know it should be the thing that you talk about, because even if you didn't socially sell, you know that that story could make a profound impact on somebody's life. So whatever that story is, that is probably your thumbprint cookie. And then your other reasons are going to be what you preach. This could be something that you genuinely care about, that you always seem to be talking about. Could be fun, could be a little heavier. Katy, for you, and I'm looking at you because you're like front and center, it is probably those like ridiculous reels you do with your family, right? It could be just teaching people about 5-ingredient less nutrition. It could be about how you can overcome like mindset struggles. If you have overcome anxiety, depression, anything like that, that might be a subcategory of what you preach. And then what you teach is sort of how you do Beachbody a little bit differently. Like, how do you run your groups? Is there an element of what you teach to what you do differently? And then what you sell is actually what you do. So this is where I see your energizes in the morning. I see your story sets where you're talking about let's get up. I see the reels where you're doing a side-by-side dancing with Shanti. So those are the types of things we want to have on our social. And when I thought about what I preach, what I teach, what I sell, and who I am, what I preach, what I teach, what I sell, and who I am, what I preach, what I teach, what I sell, and who I am. So when I think about those 4 things, they're really like the 4 hashtags that define Katy Ursta. So the 4 hashtags that define who you are, not necessarily hashtags you use, but the 4 hashtags that really define what I preach, what I teach, what I sell, and who I am. And so if you wrote those down, what would they be? And if you do a scroll, and again, I encourage you guys to even have conversations. Sometimes you find out more about yourself by how other people are perceiving what you put out on social. So if you look at each other's social, it's not just about how many likes or what was the most popular piece of content. It should be, what did I enjoy posting? What did I enjoy talking about? What were the things that light me up in the morning? If I had to jump out of bed at 5 a.m., this is what would get me out of bed in the morning. When you think about those things, those are really what your 4 things, your 4 hash would really be. So again, when we think about the thumbprint, when we think about that bakery, we need to be putting out this type of content over and over and over again to the point where we're like, do I sound like a broken record? Good. You're actually doing it right. What I preach, what I teach, what I sell, and who I am. What I preach, what I teach, what I sell, and who I am. What I preach, what I teach, what I sell, and who I am. You say that over and over and over again. So when you see, if you see Val talking about her fitness, her community, what she does on social, I see that a lot. Community is probably a big part of what I would think Val's 4 hash. I don't know, but whatever that might be for you, what I preach, what I teach, what I sell, and who I am, you say those things over and over again. I was working with a client this week, and we were talking through this, and she's actually a Zaya rep, but she had past background with Beachbody. So she knew the company, and I was kind of like walking her through what to do. And I was like, all right, so let's talk about what you preach, what you teach, and what you sell, and who you are. And she said, okay, so one thing that I find myself preaching a lot is just nap time hustle. I find myself like preaching, like getting it done during nap time. I was like, okay, so one of your big things is talking about the nap time hustle. If that's one of yours, that's the nap time hustle. Then I said, okay, so what do you teach? And she said, I really am good at teaching people how to create a comeback. Like how to create a comeback. I'm really good at giving them tips when they feel like they've been knocked out of the saddle, or whatever the saying is, and really like what to do when they need to make a comeback. So I give them those tools. I was like, okay, perfect. And I was like, what do you sell? She's like, oh, Zaya, duh. So I was like, okay, perfect. So we're going to talk about, you're actually going to be talking about marketing the items that you have. We can't be afraid to sell. And then who are you? And she's like, I live on a farm. I'm a wife. I'm a mom. So her 4 hashtags are creating the comeback. It was farm life, because she really showcases motherhood on a farm, nap time hustle, and passion for Zaya. And so then when we look at her content, we're like, all right, if we want the thumbprint, if we want people to come back, they'll likely come back and enjoy one of those 4 thumbprints. And then they're going to go, ooh, she also talks about nap time hustle. That's a really great idea. I love that she talks about that, because I actually have 2 littles that at nap time, I'm usually sitting down and watching Mickey Mouse instead of changing the channel. I want to hear what she does during nap time. So that nap time hustle became a way for her to showcase her business too. So when you look at your 4 reasons, why do people follow you? Your story is about giving somebody else hope. But if you only put out that piece of content one time or two times, you're not going to cultivate a comeback kind of audience. You need to say it over and over and over again. It's what I preach, what I teach, what I sell, and who I am. Okay. So knowing that, we also know we can be really passionate about what we talk about Beachbody, because how we do it is unique to what everybody else might be doing in the industry. I got into this discussion with Melanie, and Melanie, so sort of background, Melanie Mitro is my upline. We were college friends, and then we reconnected. She was the girl that I saw in the car and ended up signing up with. And we actually co-own a company called Chic Influencer. And so when we were talking about just, what, like, is this sort of curiosity marketing still a thing? And we got into this healthy discussion about it, but I really think that it's not. I really feel like you can be successful sub-leading with what you do in Beachbody. It's in your reels, it's in your stories. It's just that we want to make sure that we're adding so much value to people up front that there's no question that we are the girl for the job when it comes to selling. I know that if it comes to high energy, if it comes to Fitbet, if it comes to something like that, Val is a go-to girl because that is part of her messaging. And she's bold about it. She's not hiding the fact that this is the company, this is what she loves, but she's also showing you she's a mom of four. She cares a lot about the food and the nutrition that she puts into her body. She absolutely loves fitness, and she ain't afraid to work hard. Okay. So whenever you think about like how you're portraying Beachbody, how are you really doing it differently? How are you showcasing what you preach, what you teach, and what you sell, and who you are within Beachbody realm? And that really becomes your unique sharing proposition. Yes, I could go on and get energized anywhere, and I understand that, but I see that Chelsea is doing this dance in the morning. She has this whole freaking tribe of other women who are excited to work out. Like, if I want that, I don't want the energy. I don't want energized. I want a piece of what Chelsea has. I want a piece of what Amber has. I want a piece of what Kirsten has. When you understand and are confident with that piece, people don't want what you sell. They want the why behind your sell. They want a piece of what you have. And again, I go back to that's why your story matters, because it ain't about you. It's about showing people that it's possible for them too. Your story is not about you. It's about the hope that you are giving to other people. It is about the solution you are providing for other people. And when you see that, when you start to understand that, there is an energy that you start to collect. I get so fired up about this because there are so many people that walk around going, oh, Katy, I don't have a cancer story like you. I don't care. I hope you never get cancer, girl. Like, it doesn't matter. You have a story that somebody needs. And it ain't about you. It is about what your story does for somebody else. And when you actually confidently believe that, you have no problem telling it over and over and over again, because you know it has the power to make an impact. It changes the trajectory of somebody's life. That day in the car when Melanie was with all those beautiful women, where my first thought was, must be nice. And oh, weird. No, it was weird. And then it must be nice. But my third thought was, wow, that must be really nice. It wasn't about Melanie. It was about me. It was about me going, the only women I know talk about each other. The only women I know talk about being really tired. The only women I know are bringing each other down. These women look like they're enjoying each other and they're having fun. Are they away on a weekend without their children? That looks amazing, right? So when you really understand, yeah, people are really looking at you right now like, you're around other humans? That's amazing. No kids. Oh my God. Val, dude, no kids right now? You're like, it's amazing. So maybe your story is a little bit about you.
I saw a shark yesterday, but it was the margarita talking.
Okay. Got it. I understand.
It was a person.
Remember, your story isn't about you. It's about what it can do for them too. So as you're thinking this weekend, there's a woman on the other side of the screen who's watching your story going, huh, must be nice. Wow, that must be really nice. That's how you get that curiosity. So don't be afraid of telling your story. Your story is the hope and inspiration that somebody else needs. All right. So preach, teach, sell, and who you are. Now that you know those four things in your head, you might be going, I really don't know how to get to those four things, or not clear, or don't think they're niche down enough. Because by default, I see people go faith, family, fitness, fun. Those things are really broad. And if we keep to faith, family, fitness, and fun, we're not doing Beachbody differently. We're Beachbody robots, and we don't want to be Beachbody robots. So here's how I kind of think about how I can create my 4 hash, which are the preach, the teach, the sell, and who I am. So the first thing is I think about what problem I can resolve for my potential client. So what problem can I resolve for a future client or a coach? So I connect that back to the products, the service, and also the experience, which is the slight edge, which is you. So that might be how you actually coach differently. So it could be in coaching clients. Maybe you do a one-on-one discovery call. Maybe you give everybody a personalized meal plan. Maybe you do Zoom workouts with people. Maybe you encourage everybody to dress up on Wednesdays, in some kind of like 80s rock, I don't know, attire. I don't know what you do differently, but you really want to list out the problems that you resolve for people, but also the experience that you provide. This is where I encourage you. Can you guys remind me, is everybody in here a diamond and above?
No.
Okay. Are we like on the path of it though?
Yeah.
Okay. You're a leader. Like you are a leader even when you're like, I don't feel like a freaking leader. Like I don't feel, you're a freaking leader. And you can build a powerful organization right now in this moment simply because of how you choose to lead, how you choose to show up. So the other piece of experience that I want you to think about is, what is the experience you want to give people who enroll with you as a coach? How do you mentor people differently? Are you the coach who gets on a one-on-one? And I just did this and realized there might be people in the room that don't know that this is a phone. We used to hold phones. And I know now I was almost going to do this, but I wasn't talking about this. So do you get on a phone call with your coaches? Do you get them started right away? Are you somebody who wants to do a weekly meeting with your new coaches? Are you somebody who gives them systems on how to actually get started? Are you giving them an assignment and saying, report back to me in 24 hours? What's your way of doing Beachbody coaching with your coaches? Furthermore, what's the experience? What's the community that you want to cultivate? I share this a lot, but I have this like old journal that I wrote down when my Beachbody business was going through this weird transition. We had just left like DVDs. I don't know if anyone was on. Did anyone buy a DVD and not bought?
Yes.
Kirsten?
I mean,
Yeah.
I have $1,000 worth of DVDs.
Right?
Yeah.
I know, it's not fair. So when I think back about that transition, and Kirsten knows this transition well, we walked through a season in our Beachbody business where we went from being like, just everything was going really, really well. And then they moved from DVDs into the online platform, and it got really shaky and wonky and weird. And we watched sort of this slow, just kind of, it was just a very awkward time. And I remember thinking, I'm very rooted to the mission. I believe in my products. I believe in the mission of the company. I believe that I am capable of being an incredible coach. And so I wrote down blessings of my business. I wrote down all of the ways that Beachbody had blessed me, because that became content for me to put out for other people. So I looked at the blessing of empowerment. I looked at the blessing of being able to look at my health from the inside out. So really understanding like what I was putting into my body and how it was making an impact. I looked at the business and how it had changed our life financially. Guys, I walked through cancer and I never had to worry about medical bills. For that alone, I am forever indebted to Beachbody. I think about the community. I went from a shit talker to like a female empower. I will collaborate. I am freaking rooting for you to win, and I love it. So when I think about how my life has changed, whoa, how can I not talk about this? Like, how can I not share this? When we get frustrated with the business, we need to get grounded in gratitude. We need to get our butts grounded in gratitude. And so doing that, and if I was ever frustrated, I'm human. If I got frustrated, I went back to those blessings of the business and I was like, humbled, time to go, time to write, time to invite, because I just needed that instant. If you don't have a page in your journal that's about your blessings in the business, write it. I don't care if you've been in it for 1 week, 1 year, 10 years, whatever it might be. I guarantee you there's a lot more. But if we get frustrated or get concerned about, oh my God, who's enrolling? What's my SC number? Like, how many coaches do I have in my daily? No, girl, we're not going to do that. We're just going to get really grounded in gratitude. Okay. So we do that. So again, we know and explain the problem we can resolve through the products, the experience, and the service that we provide. As specific as you can get, that's where you need to be. The next thing that we need to do is list out any core values and traits that you uniquely bring to your followers or to your clients or to your coaches. So if that is just the things that you value, if it's faith, if you really love sharing your faith and maybe you pray with your coaches, awesome. If you come with the core value of everybody, like inclusivity, diversity, that's great. Bring that into your social media, bring that into the core value of your team. And I actually encourage you to create your own mission statement for your team. And mine is simple. We believe every sweat matters. We believe every story matters. We believe every person matters. That's it. So when I think about the mission, I know that that is a core value of who I am, but it's infiltrated into the team. You will see the most beautiful thing in my life, like that I think of when I think of my business, is seeing people use every sweat matters and have no idea that it started here. That is the coolest thing ever, to know that it's made that impact. So brainstorm. And then the next thing, the third thing, is to brainstorm. This should be so fun for you guys to brainstorm topics, post ideas, real ideas that have something to do with your specific 4 hash. So what you preach, what you teach, what you sell, and who you are. So thinking about content. And if you guys just brainstorm together, like, oh, you should do a reel on this topic. This would be so good for you. Do that together. If you love dancing, if you love those fitness challenge, maybe you love singing, how can you incorporate that into content? The next one, number 4, create a promise or a guarantee on your service, your product, delivery, or experience. What is your promise that you guarantee? Not the 30-day money back guarantee that Beachbody offers, but what is Chelsea's guarantee? What is Katy's guarantee? What is Kelly's guarantee? What is my guarantee? What is my promise to my customers? Is my promise that every day you will be motivated and encouraged by me. You will receive a meal plan every week in your email. You're going to get a weekly Zoom with me, and keep to your promise. Keep to your promise. Make your customers happy, because a lot of times our customers become our lifers. Our lifers become our best coaches. Okay. And then repeat yourself over and over again. If you sound like a broken record, you are legit doing it right. All right. So your brand, your story, the thing that makes you unique, your unique sharing proposition, let's make sure that it's memorable. Let's make sure that we're niche down, so we're targeted and consistent. And it should always be in line with your values and your traits, the things that matter most to you. And just sort of to close it up before we open for Q&A, remember, your story isn't about you. It's about the person on the other side of the computer. It's about the fact that they can too. So if you take yourself out of it, you remind yourself always, like, I'm actually a jerk if I don't share this. And that shifts the way you tell the story. All right. That's all. That's all I got.
I have a question. So
I love it. So excited.
I hear you when I am making a post, say that in my head, like, don't make this about me. How do you create the post that's about you, not about you? So how do you transition that from like, whoa, look at me to the girl you're talking to? You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
So it is about you. So let's say that you're doing one on, give me a topic.
Let's say like Transformation Tuesday, because that's for real about me and my transformation.
Okay.
Make that.
So yeah. So it's about, so are you going to do a side by side? Tell me about like help me visualize it for a second. Is it a side?
So I guess like my postpartum transformation.
Yeah. So I find that really key ones are when you remember. Like I remember sitting in the corner with tears in my eyes while my son refused to go down for a nap and feeling the roll of my stomach come above my jeans. So you're creating a visual that people can feel along with you. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing that I've learned to do is insert questions where you make them feel like you're speaking directly to them. So a question might be like, does that make sense? Or do you ever feel like that? Sometimes it just feels so lonely, you know, like question mark. So inserting this little statement where people are nodding their head. So where in your post can you create a statement where people go, oh, she's talking right to me. Oh, I know this. The goal is to get them to nod their head, like to say, I acknowledge that. And then the next thing that really had helped me shift from a so what post is any type of call to action that will either get them to engage or get them to go to my stories or to get them to almost commune together, like actually cultivate a community together with one another. So that could be like a direct call to action means like you're just boldly going to sell what you have to offer. Drop an emoji, send me a DM, comment below, something like that is a direct sell. But here's what I find I often do in my stories or in my posts. I direct people to my stories. I direct people to my stories for a specific reason. If I do a post and I'm like, I didn't want to share all of the pictures, so I put a couple of the ones that I find a little bit more personal in my stories. Check my stories to see. But guess what else you have in your stories? The marketing, the product. Every single day, market Beachbody in your stories. Your stories aren't for new followers. Your stories are for people who already feel a connection to you. You can't, I don't even think hashtags are a thing in stories anymore, but you can't really search stories. They really are for people who already in some way either know you, follow you, or like they genuinely are curious about you and what you have to offer. So if you have 20 people watching your stories, they're interested. If you have 100 people, they're interested. There is already trust cultivated in stories. Market every single day in those, that every single day, without a doubt. Put something up there that has to do with what you sell. Does that help, Kirsten?
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, anytime you can embed a question that kind of brings people in, I find that to be pretty effective.
I have a question.
Sure.
Something that you said earlier stuck with me, and it was about having new coaches come in and telling them to create curiosity. And when you talked about like you don't think creating curiosity is really a thing anymore, I'm trying to like switch my brain now to be like, well, shoot, we've been teaching this on our team calls for like our mentorship calls.
Yeah.
I should.
And I'm like,
You're not doing it wrong. Okay, so I'm just going to I think it's great to create curiosity, but you're marketing directly in your stories. I mean, right? For the most part, you're dancing with your Energize, or you're showing people your shaker cup or what you have to offer. So for me, like, it is obvious of that what you do in your stories is Beachbody, right? But why you do it should be what you're still leading with. So when you're thinking about like teaching curiosity, you can make people curious about your life as a cancer survivor. In your case, your life as I went to say Army wife. You could talk about the curiosity that comes with like, how did Katy actually get those results? So you're making people curious about aspects of your job and your life, but you don't need to hide it. You don't need to hide what you do. I really believe that when you have it in your stories, you just don't need to put it so outright in your grid. So I still don't encourage anybody to stand with their shaker cup and be like, we're not going to do that. But you might talk about like how your nutrition, how your life has changed nutritionally or from the inside out, how you got a hold of your health. And then you might direct people back to your stories. But guess what you're talking about in your stories? Your shake. So I think the better way of explaining it is to make sure that you're always marketing what you have in your stories, but you are still explaining your story, still explaining your 4 hash in your grid. I just don't know. I think, does everybody market Beachbody in their stories, or do you just make people curious in your stories?
So that was going to be actually my question. When I started coaching, it was like, don't show Shakeology, like don't talk about it, like make people curious and want to know like what is it that you're drinking, or like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Who say like it's fine, like if we have our shaker cup to have Shakeology like showing, because I totally, when I take pictures or do anything, I will make it so my shaker cup does not say Shakeology to my viewers.
Same.
So is this in your grid post or is this in your story?
No, this is in my stories.
You can, I would. If I was marketing Beachbody the way that I did before, I would be making sure that I show people how I do Beachbody differently, that make sure that they see why they should work with me. I wouldn't hide it in your stories anymore. Now on your grid, that's kind of sacred space. Your grid, I mean, your grid is sort of like prime real estate. So what you put on there probably isn't going to be your shaker cup. But I've seen people do the reels with Shaun T. They're phenomenal. They're getting great engagement. If I'm going to watch a reel that it's like she's dancing with Shaun T, and then somebody guided me back to their stories, I want to know what you're doing, but I also want to know how you do it differently. So what's your point? Whenever you go, you ask yourself, what's your point? So if you look at the picture of the shaker cup, are you just showing people that you're slinging a shake? Or are you educating people? Are you teaching them? Are you showing them how every morning you do energized shots with your girl group? So it's not just about selling the product. It's about showing how Amber uses the product and how she uses the experience of it.
Okay, so it's fine to say like energize and hydrate.
Yeah, but what's your purpose?
Like to get the energy, like to work out and like that kind of thing.
Yeah. So let me give you an example of what I would do. If it was hydrate, I would be like, okay, all right, you guys. So this is my kid's Gatorade drink. And I just want to point out there is X amount of sugar. But I was working with my community, with my challengers. And one of the things that I do is I actually coach people how to actually legit understand nutrition. And so I just wanted to point out that this product that I really love, it actually has X amount of sugar in it. Can you believe that? And I don't necessarily always say it. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but I talk a little bit about what I do. I talk a little bit about the experience that I provide. So it's not just check out this great, like I'm shaking my shake at you, it's so good. It's about saying like, all right, I mixed up this shake. I knew that today was going to be a really, really busy day. One of the things that I talk about in my challenge groups is making sure that you really start your morning with a really great calorie, like dense breakfast. And so we've been talking about different ways to do this quick because most of the people that I work with, they're moms or they have little ones. They're just always on the go. So they forget themselves. Is this you too? Poll question. Oh my God. Yes, that's me. Or, yeah, I feel you on that. Does that make sense, Amber?
Yes. Yeah.
So when I say cure, like, I still don't know that if I was looking at my grid, that I would always be like outright beach body, beach body, beach body. I would be leading with my 4 hash. I would. So when I think of, I'm just looking at Kirsten. So when I think of Kirsten talking a lot about her marriage and the way it's been changed over the past like year really is what I've seen you talk a lot about. She talks about her kids, being a boy mom, having 3 under the age of 5. Is he 5?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how insane that sounds to me, by the way? So Kirsten could give tips and strategies in her stories, and she really does, about how she's doing it all. But in her post, she might talk about like a time in her life where people said, they would say, Kirsten, how do you do it all? And I would go to the bathroom and I would just cry because I wasn't able to do it all. I felt like I was failing. I felt like everything that I was doing was wrong. I felt like the world was caving in on me. And maybe you too, sister, maybe you are there as well. Here's what I've learned from that experience. Tip 1, tip 2, tip 3. So I want you to be proud of the fact that you love the products and the services that you offer. So going back to Amber's question, but I want you to always lead with who you are. So you're always leading with who you are, because that story is the one that people connect to. But when they go into your stories, when they go into your IG stories, they start to connect you to what you offer, and they think, maybe I can too. I hope that helps. So Katy, I feel like I kind of need to backpedal a little bit in what you asked, because you are making people curious about you. You really are making people curious about you, but you still want to be educating them within your stories about what you do.
See, I think like I'm gotten to the point in my business where I'm super confident talking about Beachbody. But I also feel like it's not like, it doesn't have to be this secret thing anymore, that like Amber was saying, like, oh, you have to like twist your Shakeology cup the other way. So
Yeah.
I've shown that, and not like, I just did the reset, and I know that little reset was on all of my little, like every time I was showing my little caddy and stuff. And I talked about how I was going through it. And I talked about how I did it, and in hopes that other people could see, oh, well, I can do this too. But what I meant before was that, oh, I thought someone's towel fell. But what I meant before was that like, when we're bringing in new coaches on our new coach mentorship, we're telling them to create curiosity, not to plaster Beachbody everywhere. And honestly, that's how I did it when I started. I was like, oh my gosh, they could not see Shakeology like I turned the bag around, turned my cup around, and would call it, so I feel like I had a moment when I heard you say that. I feel like, oh my gosh, am I doing this wrong now? Like, am I telling these new girls that are just coming onto our team?
You're doing a great job, but it evolves, and social media evolves. The way that we sell, it evolves. So even now, when you get new coaches in your organization, sure, confidence isn't It's just not necessarily something they have. So instead of saying like you have to hide it, which makes them feel shame for what they sell, what if instead you just teach them to lead with the 4 hash, what you preach, what you teach, what you sell, and who you are. So those are the 4 things that you're talking about on your social. And in your story, every day you tell your new coaches, what do you want to showcase? What do you want to showcase about what you do? And it might be the morning workouts. It might be the shake. It might be the containers. It might be whatever, but you ask them, what do you want people to do with it? What's your purpose? So if you are showcasing in your stories Shakeology, cool. What do you want people to do with that post? How do you want to create engagement? So even when you think about, I've actually gone back to teaching this, author's purpose. Do you guys remember being in like elementary school or middle school and learning like what's the author's purpose? And they gave you the acronym PIES. It was persuade, inform, entertain, or share thoughts and feelings. Do you remember that? It was just the acronym like PIES, and it would be P, persuade, I, inform, E, entertain, S, share thoughts and feelings. 100% applicable to marketing on social media. Every time you post, you say to yourself, what's my purpose? Okay, this specific type of post, I'm persuading them to go to my stories. This specific post, I'm informing them of what, I don't know, what like skipping breakfast looks like. In this one, I'm doing a reel. My sole purpose is to entertain. And then to share thoughts and feelings. Maybe it's that Tuesday transformation where you talk about the woman you were before you signed up with Beachbody. 100% applicable. So even in your stories, if you're showcasing Shakeology, your energized ones, you guys do a phenomenal job of your morning energized like workouts. Your purpose, after you do that, every once in a while, you should be like, I got a question about who these women are that work out with me. Is this something you want to know more about how to join our morning workouts? You just turn that into a marketing opportunity. So it's not, you're just always asking yourself, what's my purpose? It's not just to sling the shake. It's not just to show people my beach bar. It is to persuade people, inform them, entertain, or is it to share thoughts and feelings?
Katy, when you say teach, you did say, initially you said specific to Beachbody, but do you feel like teach is just anything that you feel like you've become an expert at?
Not even an expert, maybe even something you're in the process of learning.
But anything.
Yeah, so for example, one of mine recently has been like, I've been teaching people how to be a healthier CEO. So what does that look like? And then I'll brainstorm out exactly what that is. But it does not have to be specific to Beachbody now.
And I think like also to know that I think as a newer coach, sometimes we go to a training like this and we're like, okay, hard and fast. These are my thumbprints and they never change. But like being a coach for 8.5 years, it's just knowing that that's always going to evolve. And that's like what you're saying right now, that you're kind of teaching something else that's because of where you are in your life and in your business. So just knowing that that is always, it's just, I think that was something that I struggled with in the beginning. Like I was just, my brain is so black and white. Like it has to be this or it has to be that. And I don't know how to be this or that. And then it would just paralyze me. Well, I just do nothing, you know? So it can always be an evolving, changing plan.
But can you teach more than one thing too?
Yeah. You just want to make sure that it's a thumbprint. Like if I talk about, maybe I give, like maybe for example, Kirsten teaches just how she and her husband have had their marriage impacted through scripture, doing a Bible study together. I'm just giving an example. She does that post once and then she never teaches that concept again. All those people who maybe came in to follow her for that reason, they're going to be gone because she's not giving them what they came for. So I'm not, I can't see who asked that question.
It was
but
Kelly.
it was Kelly. So when you think about what you teach, how can you keep consistently teaching that concept? And if you're finding yourself going like, I feel like I'm jumping around too much, think about one and then how you could teach that multiple ways or in more ways. Is there something specific though, Cal, that you're thinking?
Well, yeah. So like, self-love and confidence and body image is big for me right now, especially because I have 3 teenage girls who are 3 different sizes, and like my middle is very, she's very aware that she is higher up on the BMI, you know, and so it's something that I'm really passionate about, but I also am passionate about nutrition and like, you know, teach about that. So that's where I'm like, how do I narrow that down? Or
Yeah. So when I think about this, these are all the things that just came to mind. The word self-love is really, really broad. So you could talk about like self-love for women who have curves, self-love for 40 plus, self-love for, but what you said in the next statement was a mom of 3 girls with 3 different body types. So for me, when I think about that main one, what Kelly teaches is self-love no matter the body type. And then you teach other women who are maybe moms of girls how to be proactive about their health. What do you do when the BMI says they're over? How do you have a healthy conversation with your daughter who might be overweight? How do you love on all 3 of your girls when they maybe don't love themselves? So when you think about self-love, you're also saying, is this also through the lens of a mom? Like, is this also through the lens of somebody who is figuring out how to teach their children self-love? And so when you post, you are talking to other women who might have daughters who are walking through this path too. So even more specific than self-love, it's self-love as a mom with 3 daughters who don't know how to quite love themselves. That's where you get niche down. That's where you get more specific. And then your love for nutrition, when you're teaching nutrition, you can incorporate that original idea of, you know, my daughters all love it, like foods. This is how you could maybe create them to be healthier alternatives for your daughters. And I'm very curious, Kelly, like even as you said that, you do a great job with self-love. You teach it, but what if you get even more specific with it? And talking about it through the lens of a mom who has 3 girls at 3 different sizes. How do you teach it to the girl who might be skinny, girl who might be overweight, and teach everyone that health above all impacts self-love? Taking good care of your health is teaching them how to love themselves. And then that becomes really your teachable. And guys, this is like how I figure out how to tell a story. It's like walking backwards. So taking Kelly's picture and then being able to strip it down and basically explain that you have 3 daughters, 3 different sizes. How do you teach them to love themselves? And what does nutrition have to do with it? How does good nutrition fuel self-love? How does good nutrition fuel self-love? So then that is what you teach. How does good nutrition teach self-love?
There you go. Yeah, can we just pay you to do individuals of this? Yeah.
No, not my team. Don't pay me. You don't pay me for anything. I really do. Like I just am very passionate. I really believe that every story matters. Like I remember, kind of tell this story, but when I was diagnosed, it was 2014. I had been a coach for a year and a half, and I was on a maternity leave with my son who was 4 months old. And I remember knowing what I was getting ready to go in for. I was going to go through chemo. So I was going to be sick. I was told I was going to be bald. I was going to lose all my hair. And I called a friend, and the friend actually, I was like, I'm on a maternity leave. I just extended it. I don't have the security of my job. I don't even have my healthcare benefits. We had to scramble to get on Mike's healthcare benefits. And I said to her, I'm going to be sick and I'm going to be bald. Like, who in the heck who would want me as a coach? Like, who would want me as a coach? And her response was, everybody. Everybody is going to want you as a coach. And her saying that made me realize, like, what if I coach and just tell the story of how to be healthy when you're really sick? Like, how can you be healthy when you're really sick? And what if I show people how to be healthy when you're really sick? And because I started telling my story, everything changed. Like, the way I started telling my story wasn't about getting 6-pack abs. My story no longer was about losing baby weight. It was no longer about it. It became about, my feet hit the floor this morning. I'm so grateful. Like, how can I not be grateful? Like, I am sweating simply because I am physically able to do it and somebody else can't. So I will sweat for them. And that belief that the story that I was living through mattered to more than just me, that changed the trajectory of my entire business and my life. I mean, really, that's not just become a mission, that's become a movement. I've seen people do it outside of Beachbody. I've seen the hashtag of, we've been able to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars through Every Sweat Matters tank tops, you guys. And it's just the simple belief that when you take a piece of your story and make it not about you, it just moves mountains. It can move mountains. And I believe that for every single one of you, because I've seen it in my own life, and I have no doubt that it can do it in your life too. So yeah, that's it. Any other questions, guys? And I'll stalk all your social media to see what you guys are doing.
I
I'm
have
not,
another question.
I'm not afraid to message you and be like, you should do more posts like this.
So let's say, okay, so everyone here, maybe they're sitting here and they're saying, okay, I'm coming up with my 4 thumbprints. You feel like you give it a certain amount of time, like, okay, for the next 60 days, I'm going to do these 4. And then you evaluate, like, okay, I did this one and no one is connecting to this. Like, at what point are you saying to yourself, I might need to re-examine and do a different thumbprint? Because you may not get it right the first time, right? Am I right?
Yeah. So when you really don't, if you don't overthink it, I think the key is, like, don't overthink it. Like, I'm just gonna call you out, Katy. What's one thing that you preach, teach, or sell, or who you are? Like, what's one thing?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, to stop dieting is my big thing right now.
Is it one of those things that you could get yourself so, like, passionate about? Like, absolutely. You probably already know one, you can lead very boldly with one. You don't have to come up with 4. If you have 1 or 2 that you're very powerfully, like, committed to, go with 1 or 2. But I guarantee you already know what 1 or 2 of them already are. Like, Kirsten, what's one that you're, like, pretty, like, passionate about?
Right now it's like raising boys, like figuring out how to raise, like, godly boys. Like, that is something I'm, like, diving into, and being okay with what life as a boy mom looks like the chaos and not crushing their spirit, and, like, adventure and battle and loud and wrestling, and just, like, and it's crazy because I've been talking to other moms about this because nobody talks about it. Like, I have found myself on podcasts and things, and then I share with other moms what I'm learning. They're like, oh yeah. Like, I honestly felt weight lifted off my shoulder when she was like, I listened to this podcast. She's like, yeah, you're normal. Like, my house is normal. And I feel like it's crazy and not normal. So I don't know. That's kind of a new passion of mine that I haven't really dug deep into on my social yet, but I'm starting to.
What if you start focusing on that one? So you just said a bunch of things right there, and I just thought of like 10 different posts you could do. Thought it wasn't normal, did your research, what are the podcasts that you're discovering? And if you lead with that one thumbprint, people will be interested in the other ones that follow along the way.
Like, I honestly, I mean, my mind goes super big picture right away. I'm like, I need to create a group and like a workout group, and like, I need to be friends with all the boy moms in my neighborhood. And because I really feel like it's such a specific, I don't know. But anyways, like, yeah, I feel really strongly about it. So I'm okay with going all in with just that topic.
Go all in with that topic, but you just did a bear claw. Like, you have your thumbprint, but you have also a little claw, and that was community. I actually think community is another big one for you, just being around other women. That really gives you energy. And I just know that from knowing you. It gives you energy. You talk about finding a community, which will connect back to what you sell.
My problem is I'm not great about finding my core, like I guess it's like this love of fitness. Like that's really all I can think of. I have 2 kids. So I'm not like a boy mom specific or a girl mom, like it's just trying to find those 4 hashes or those 4 thumbprints that I struggle with.
Can I share?
Yeah.
So I'll share this with you, Katie, and then you can give her feedback. So I think she's only posted about this once, but Chelsea lost a lot of weight, was on medication for ADHD and got off of it because of the impact that it was having on the people around her. But when she got off of it, she was unable to lose weight and she hated working out and she struggled with that. So she started to put on weight after she got off of the drug. So other positive things happened, but then she put on a lot of weight and then she found workouts in Beachbody and lost the weight. And she doesn't share.
I don't know how to share that. I guess I don't know how to talk about
which I feel
that.
like how many people could relate to the fact that one, she ADHD and she's coping without medicine now, and the medicine, it was an adjustment for anyways. Because Chelsea has asked me a couple of times, and so I think this training is helpful for her. She's like, I'm not getting a lot of engagement. I feel like I'm not like getting new followers. I'm saying the same things, and she's struggling with like her marketing side of it. And I think her marketing is too general, and so that's why I'm sharing that with you, and maybe you can help her.
Yes.
I think that's a big part of her story, right? Like, don't you think that that's something that?
I guess I do have a question. Are you off of medication?
Yes.
I hope that wasn't too private to ask.
No, not at all. No.
There's a lot of people who are really trying to be off of certain medications, whether it's cholesterol or it's antidepressants or it's anxiety. The other piece of it is that people get curious about, Chelsea, is like, how do you just stop taking medication? How did you make your decision to stop taking medication?
I got pregnant with Lincoln and I didn't want to take the medicine when I was pregnant.
So
that's what kickstarted it all.
Of your, like, what you can share is strategies and tips for helping like women who are going medication free or wanting to go medication free. Because that's actually quietly some things that are happening that I'm noticing. People are they learn more about supplements. They want to learn more about how to take good care of their health without being medicated. And I think that's actually a pretty powerful part, which means for you, it might help to actually write out the story for yourself, not for a post, but for yourself. And what happens is when you do that, you start to see key lines or phrases or things that stand out and sort of become other talking points as well. So even as Kirsten was talking, here's what I got out of what Kirsten said about Chelsea. She said, get off the medication. She talked about for her family. I'm curious about like what that looked like, who you were before, when you were on meds, who you are after, thinking about like, what was your self-esteem like whenever you were overweight? How did it change when you lost the weight? Was there like an internal sort of struggle that you had as a woman who maybe has, I forget if you said ADD or ADHD, if you still have those sort of traits, like how do you live that life like without being medicated? So all of those things are things that you can talk about. And again, you almost have to say, what's my purpose of the post? Is it to persuade, inform, entertain, or share thoughts and feelings? Okay, if it is to share thoughts and feelings, it might be your opinion on medicating, as an adult. If it's to inform, it might be to give tips to other women who maybe are trying to get off of medication. So you have that part. And then Chelsea, you have an incredible transformation, an incredible one. That physically you had amazing results, but I don't know if you always share sort of the who Chelsea is. And that's just sort of what from I've seen. I love like it's a beautiful transformation. That whole part, I never saw the post, I never knew anything about that. There was a whole part here that had a shift too. And I think that would be a big part of your brand. So when this conversation started a few minutes ago, it was, I like fitness. Like, Chelsea, listen to what just happened aside from I like fitness. And how did you become a woman who likes fitness? There's a lot of women who were like, I wish I loved fitness like you guys. I don't know how to work out. There are people who see you guys working out in the morning who go, I don't even know how to do that. So they block themselves out. Our job when we tell stories is to constantly be bridging a gap for people, showing them that it's possible for them too. So Chelsea, it's not just your love of fitness. It's because it's who you've become is possible for other people too. But the way that you did it was through fitness. It's not fitness. It was through fitness. Your big four hash isn't #fitness. I love fitness. That's not it. It is the person that you have become, Chelsea, because you discovered fitness. You discovered what it's like to sweat instead of popping a pill. So that is
also, side note, she said in her fun facts that she shared yesterday that she hated fitness.
I did.
So that's, yeah.
even better because there's women who are out there on medication who have no idea that it's actually true that you can change your life with fitness. They think it's all about losing 5 pounds.
Right.
They do, guys, because this is what diet has done to us. Like, we really believe that fitness is all about having flat abs after babies. Bullshit. God, it's our health. Like, it is our health. And so you can find your own health story. You know, for Katy, when she talks about the diet culture, she talks about what diet the yo-yo trend was, but it's not about her love for fitness. It's about she knows that other women are seeing where she is now, and she constantly has to bridge the gap and remind people, I get where you are. I get it. I see you. And Chelsea, you got to do the same thing too.
Okay. Thank you.
Chelsea.
I've got like
We're recruiting everybody to come and dance with us on the beach tomorrow morning. They were watching us, and now everyone's asking, and we're like, come on down.
How was your guacamole? I was wondering. It was good.
It's
phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
We're still eating it today.
Yeah.
I have more. I can make
I
more.
actually cannot wait to have some on a salad right now.
Go eat. I'm so grateful that you invited me in today. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Yes, we're grateful
Yeah.
for you, Katy. Thank
You
you.
guys, I'm literally only an IG handle away. If you ever need anything, or even if you're like, can you check out my content? Or I think these are my 4 hash. Am I on topic? Shoot me a message. I'm here. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking the time to hang out with us today.
Thank you very
yeah, absolutely. I'm glad it worked out. So, all right. Well, have an awesome weekend. Is this till Sunday?
We're gonna take a picture.
Okay.
You go like that.
Wait, am I in it?
Yes.
Yes.
You're just gonna see our backs or our
Here, wait, let me just put it on.
Yeah, speaker view.
Here, see how many of us can squeeze into this? Because I don't have time.
Okay. Wait.
Now that I stood up, I have to pee really
Out for
bad.
that. Oh, sorry.
Ready, Katy?
So hold on, I'm taking like a video of all of this. Okay, I'm ready.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
I just see my butt.
How was that view, Katy?
Love it. Always well. Always beautiful. All right, you guys. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. Have a great time. Are you guys there till Sunday? Enjoy it.
Yes, we're getting pictures done in a little bit.
Have the best time, guys. I'll see you later.
Thanks, Katy.
Bye. Miss you.